This video is going to be a film study look at Rasul Douglas, a veteran corner who's still on the free agent market. The Ravens, coming out of the draft, have addressed pretty much every position, right, to the satisfaction of most of us fans. Defensive tackle position probably being the lone outlier there. Maybe some would say offensive line as well. I want to talk about Rasul Douglas and two of the ways that I think he might help a team like the Ravens. It doesn't have to be Baltimore. A boundary side corner, which is where he typically played, as a changeup from your two starting corners. Or what I'm referring to is a three corner system that is an idea, theory that's still in my mind after watching Mike McDonald's defense in 2023 in Baltimore, last year in Seattle, and then also the way Zach Orr ran things last year in Baltimore. Essentially, the idea is utilizing the third corner in parts of the field in a way that switches up the look for the offense. So every time they go 11 personnel, they don't see the same set of two corners or three corners on the field. In the case of the Ravens, it would be Wiggins, Humphrey as outside corners, Douglas being the third guy who rotates in there. Think back to basically 2023 with Ronald Darby. The only difference is, in my opinion, tremendous difference in the ability to generate turnovers and with interceptions. Second point, before we get to some of the film, cover two technique. He's excellent in cover two technique. I don't necessarily like him in press man, to be honest with you, but very smart corner, very aware. And so when he gets to play that cover two flat technique, particularly into the boundary, he's protected by a safety over the top. Really dangerous to deal with him over there. He does a great job of reading the quarterback. At his best, obviously, he was very dangerous to deal with in terms of throwing the football to his side. He had a 3-year stretch of 14 interceptions total, and that would be 2021, 2022, and 2023. The last year that I think you've got really high-level film. He's still only 29 years old, turns 30 this August. He's a free agent, played last year with the Bills. Quite frankly, scouting the Bills leading up to the AFC playoff game, I wasn't that impressed. In fact, my statement in two different previews was along the lines of we should target that guy. And I got a lot of feedback, good and bad, on that one from Bills fans and some Ravens fans. Say, hey, that's Rasul Douglas, coach. Like, that guy can play. He's got, at that point, still 19 career interceptions. He didn't have one last year. But the reality is, when he was targeted last year, he wasn't very good. And the numbers kind of bear that out. He did have 5 picks in 2023, none last year. I just didn't think he was as connected with the receivers in 2024 as the name would have kind of indicated. So let's get to some of the film. He'll be spot shadowed at the beginning of each play. Interception 2023 against Atlanta. There's the routes that you're going to see develop, kind of a deeper out by the outside receiver, number 1, Bijan Robinson in motion, run out into the flats. And he just does a great job. This is what I think is one of his best attributes, is playing with his eyes into the field so he can see both the quarterback, both the quarterback and his field of vision with the receivers, and his back or his butt is to the sideline. That's the blue line there. He comes off there, breaks on the throw. Is it a zone? Is he a zone player? He's very good, if you ask me, at reading the field when he can see the route. So if that means a zone turn, which is your back to the sideline, and your eyes on the quarterback into the interior of the field, then so be it. That's where you pretty much see, I think you see, his best film. I did actually mention, like I said before the Ravens-Bills game last year, that the Ravens should target Elam when he was playing, and a few Bills fans in the comments section said, well, Coach, he's not our starter. And my reply back was, well, I think he's playing better than the other guy, and I'm referring to Douglas. I just did not think either of those guys could match up with Flowers or Bateman consistently. In the Broncos game, Troy Franklin just absolutely ran right by him. And I think part of it is, after watching probably about 50 or 60 plays last night and this morning, he's oftentimes reading and matching the routes. So he's reading 1 and 2, trying to figure out who to match up with. I think at times that kind of slows you down. And in Rasul Douglas's case, maybe he's obviously not 24 or 25 years old anymore. That could be the difference between a speed receiver running by him and him being able to keep up with that vertical. When he's got off coverage like this, not only is he good at staying with the receiver with depth, other than, like I said, Franklin, the touchdown in the Broncos game, he's also really good at putting his foot in the ground like that and breaking down on the football. You guys can see it at the top of the screen. Basically, remember the discussion or argument a couple of weeks ago between Asante Samuel Sr. and Deion Sanders, and a couple of other DBs got into it. I think Antonio Rogers-Cromartie did as well. And by the way, I fall on the side of Samuel and Cromartie. They're absolutely right here. Deion actually did those things himself. Essentially, they call it T-step. This isn't T-step here. It's just plant your left foot point the other foot in the direction you want to go, and then burst. So plant that foot, point this foot in the direction you want to go, and open up and go. And he's just very athletic from a subtle standpoint. I don't mean like he's a 4.3 speed guy, but he's able to put his foot in the ground, come downhill, and again, that's where the cover 2 technique fits in. It aligns up perfectly with Ronald Darby from 2023. A lot of times the ball was on the right hash for the offense or the left hash for the Ravens defense. Ronald Darby would come in the game. He would line up to the boundary, and they'll play a cover 2. He was brilliant at it. He was not from an interception standpoint, but just from let me take away this route first, and then let me hedge over to the other side. The quarterback's not going to throw it to either one of those guys. He's got to move on to his third read. Boom, sack, pressure. That's the point, is switching up the coverage looks. The corollary to that is, he's got 19 career interceptions, but at this point, his last 5 interceptions, here's who they've come up against: Desmond Ridder, Zach Wilson, Ryan Tannehill. Are there other coverage plays that illustrate his intelligence and his savvy? Yes, but if you want to be negative about it, that's reality. I do think he's a smart corner. I do think he's someone who fits into a defensive structure well, that utilizes press man and cover 2 technique. You got to play a certain amount of press man to make it look like it could be press man, and then sync it to a cover 2. Essentially, what I'm talking about is like this one, where he rides the number 1 receiver out, safety gets depth, and then he's able to, once again, get his eyes in here to the quarterback. Now, Zach Wilson is the quarterback here, so you can say what you want about it. His initial look is to this side, and Rasul Douglas is tracking that, just holding his spot. As soon as he looks to that side, look, the reads went in this direction, right? Zach Wilson started here and then came back here. Sorry, too many lines on the screen. He started over here, came back here. So the way this would work, 1 or 2 up to that side, 3, and then he has to get all the way down here to 4. That illustrates the point I just made about Ronald Darby, which is take away something, let the quarterback work to his third read, and the pass rush will get there. Now, in this case, there happens to be a free rusher. Zach Wilson probably has awareness of him on this 4th and 5. Douglas cheats off of it. Look, it's a 4th quarter. It's a blowout game. I'm just using that to line up with you the Darby comparison, and everything fits. Ball on the right hash, press man technique, making it look like it could be press man, pre-snap. Safety bailing, obvious cover 2, corner in the flats, those 2 there, deep half safety. Everything fits, lines up here for me mentally with a Ronald Darby type of usage. Now, the problem is, Rasul Douglas is so accomplished. Would he want to sign with a team if they say, hey, best case scenario, you're on the field 40 to 50% of the time? I don't know, what type of mentality he has compared to, other competitors. Guys like Marlon Humphrey, I think we should use less. Preserve them, right? I don't think Marlon should be on the field 100% of the time. Let Wiggins play a ton. Even Awuzie, what's the number? Between 88 and 92% of the time for me, maybe 94%. And that gets back to that 3-corner rotation. I don't mean 3 corners against nickel, against 11 personnel groups. I mean 3 corners being used and rotated in a strategic fashion in certain parts of the field. And my problem is I still can't explain the thought process there on how I think McDonald and then Zach Orr last year, and even the Chargers defensive coordinator who previously was at Michigan, how they're getting that accomplished. But getting back to Douglas, great ball skills, right? Probably not the same player from a positional standpoint, coverage-wise. Still, I would say, dangerous to throw over there. But look, statistically, the data, high percentage of catches to targets allowed in 2024. Still think he's super aware and generally knows when to go for it. And we'll have some film against the Chiefs and some other better quarterbacks here as we finish up. So this is against the Patriots 2023, a little in cut. The awareness to just take it away immediately. I think his film study must be exquisite. I think he just must be a really smart player in terms of preparing for a specific formation and a specific reaction. And so what I mean is, look at what you've got here. Now, I'm not saying that he sees this fullback and this tailback setting up the one-man screen. Everybody has different names for that concept, but essentially it's a one-man screen with this fullback operating as a blocker. You can see that in this case there happen to be 2 other guys as well. Most of the times, most of the iterations that I've seen of this, the backside guy runs a slant. It's a little bit more of just an in cut here. Douglas knows it. Also, the free safety, I think it's Hyde, was reading the quarterback, so he didn't get all the way to the middle of the field. It's a great jump by Douglas. You know, is he a guy that you bring in and you expect to get a whole lot of interceptions? No, especially if you're doing what I advocate for, which is playing him 35, 40, maybe 45% of the time at most. But he's a guy who's made a ton of plays in his career. People know who he is. Also, very experienced in the playoffs. I think he's played like 9 playoff games, something like that. As I said before, his 2024 stats, not good in terms of catches to targets. Additional to that, no interceptions. I don't only focus on those things, but they do line up with how I scouted him prior to the Ravens Bills playoff game. Now, he was dealing with injury, I think 2 separate types of injuries in 2024. I don't think the Bills changed their system, meaning I think they used the same schemes generally last year. Did he suddenly get older and unable to play well consistently, unable to run with people? No, I don't think that's it either. I did look at the film from the Broncos game again, pretty much got the same impression, but did notice more of the cover 2 technique that would be appealing to me. He's definitely a player who, if you allow him to look at the quarterback and see the routes developing, essentially a zone turn, a zone mentality, he will show up and he will arrive, at the football, at the catch point, that is, with an opportunity to make plays. This one clearly underthrown. 3rd and 11 ends up being a pick 6 against the Patriots. I think it's Bailey Zapp back there. Receiver, not even looking. Ball lofted out there. He takes it back to the house. He does have 3 career pick 6s. Like I said, turns 30 in August. Situationally, where he is in his career, he's more accomplished than a Woozy. And that's one of the reasons why I would say if he's available on a cheap 1-year contract, I think the Ravens should look into it. And we do have other needs. Defensive tackle, obviously. We brought in at least 2 UDFAs who I think have a chance to make the football team. I really like the inside linebacker from Memphis, number 1. Number 2, the offensive lineman from Middlebury. I think it's Thomas Perry, I believe is his name. I do have film of him. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Press man to me is not a relative strength for Rasul Douglas. He fits a system that matches routes and, like I said, plays with their eyes on the quarterback more so than a team that's going to be in a lot of press man. Does a really nice job of breaking downhill, like I called it, plant, point, burst, which makes me wonder if he does still have the ability to impact the game because, number 1, he's very confident and he's got great awareness on the quarterback and when the ball is in the air. Couple of examples here of kind of what I'm talking about against better competition. 2023 AFC playoffs, so not very long ago. And you can see he's lined up on the receiver. There's the route. It's going to be a Hyde concept coming from the other side of the field. By the tight end, Kelsey with his little walk motion. And Douglas not doing anything special other than making it look like one coverage. And then with the tight end out in the flats, Von Miller in the quarterback's face, coming downhill to get involved in a tackle. Every time that I've seen him in a tackling situation, he ends up on the correct side. And so what I mean by that is his right shoulder is going to be to the outside of this tight end. I think it's Noah Gray. It's not that he's a 100% tackler. I mean, nobody is at that level, but he's always on the correct side. So I think he fits in a defensive structure during the play. And I also speculate, that he might fit into the 3-corner system that I haven't done a great job of describing in this video or previously. It's something that if I have time to go look at a bunch of Seahawks film from last year and Ravens film from the last 2 years and look at when certain guys are on the field, particularly guys like Darby, Wiggins last year early, and even with the Seahawks, guys like Josh Joby, Devin Witherspoon, how they're deploying them and what parts of the field. I think there's got to be a pattern. At least I believe there is. I just haven't been able to figure it out yet. He's made a lot of tackles in his career, like I kind of alluded to. 441 career tackles, 50 last year in 2024, 5 TFLs. and this is where I think he would fit with the ball on the hash down into the red zone, close to the red zone, or even on our side of the 50. Essentially, basically what Tre'Davious White did for us last year. He's not a Brandon Stevens guy, in my opinion, a guy who's going to play a lot of press man, end up with his back to the quarterback. He doesn't play those poorly, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that's a relative strength of him. He plays into the hash, and so here is where I will attempt to go a step further with my 3-corner comparison. Wiggins generally plays on the left, so does Marlon Humphrey, in fact. Awuzie has played on both sides. I wonder if what you try to do structurally is take a left-right corner system. Let's say Wiggins on the left and Awuzie on the right. Let's just say. It may be the other way around. But for the purpose of this discussion, Wiggins on the left, Awuzie on the right. And then you tuck Rasul Douglas into a boundary side corner. So you could, depending on where the ball is on the field, left hash or right hash for the offense, you then bring him onto the field, and that changes perhaps your coverage umbrella, meaning the total possibilities of coverage you play. Well, the offensive coordinator doesn't know that. When the offensive coordinator goes 11 personnel or 21 personnel, whatever, he's calling his play based upon a normal response by the defense. This would be a normal response against 11 personnel, 3 corners on the field. Against 21 personnel, 12 personnel, or 22, you're in your base defensive structure. But now you've brought a player in who is a boundary side corner that is separate from the right-left corner system. And I've speculated for at least 2 years that that's something that Mike Macdonald and the Michigan Ravens style coverage defense have done. And I think that in this case it fits because he's really good into that boundary role. I wonder if some team, isn't already talking to him about, being a starter, playing 75, 80% of the time. I wonder if at his age that maybe it wouldn't be better served to be a 40, 45, maybe 50% of the time player, depending on the location on the field. But, what do you do as a front office? Do you explain to a prospective corner, hey, we're trying to hide our coverage umbrella from the offense, and in doing so, we're only going to use you into the boundary. You can't explain that to him up front. So hopefully I've done a decent job of explaining to you both what I think is a possible benefit, a way to obscure your coverage look to the offensive coordinator who's making his play call, and also a possible drawback in that how do you recruit a guy without explaining to him the system, a guy like Rasul Douglas with 19 career picks. You're more than welcome to tear down or destroy my thoughts there. It's not fully formed. It's something that has been in my brain for a while. This is a forced fumble against the Chiefs, and you can see Douglas coming up low, doesn't really necessarily see things. I think he's trying to cause a fumble here. I think it's Mecole Hardman, 2023 AFC divisional round. He's just very good at pretty much everything from a positional standpoint. Does he still have a fifth gear? I mean, he's not old. He's 29 years old. I guess he's old in terms of the NFL. He's very experienced in Buffalo's system. There's something to be said for that as well. Bringing a guy in here who has experience with a known rival, potential AFC playoff foe. Grabbing other teams do it right. They coach our players who maybe aren't even starters for us. In this case, we would be getting a player from Buffalo who has a ton of experience in their system and knows the system intimately. I wonder about the impact of that. Probably a 1-year salary deal at this point, given the film from 2024. The benefits, do they outweigh the risks in a 1-year low contract situation? I think they do. This is a patented Bills corner blitz. You may remember, if you're a longtime Ravens fan, they used this blitz in 2020 to basically destroy a first quarter drive and get a sack, really almost in the same part of the field. I think we were around in this area. It was in Buffalo, 2020, the game we lost, the Taron Johnson interception where Lamar got concussed. Same blitz, basically. Rasul Douglas blitzing from the boundary to get a sack. Yeah, it's not Justin Herbert. It's, I think, Stike is the backup quarterback that year, 2023. So there's a lot of versatility there. There's a lot of production. Not much in 2024, right? He also has some film at nickel. I'll show you 2 more plays. Forgive me if this one's gone on too long. My videos tend to be in the 20-minute mark. At least you kind of know what you're signing up for. He does play a little bit of nickel. And in Green Bay, when they had 2 high-quality outside corners, he would move down there sometimes. And the Ravens have certainly a ton of options there as the slot corner or nickel DB. Humphrey, Hamilton, right, Ardarius. I mean, Malachi Starks can also move down there. Longerbeam, the guy from Rutgers, I really like their defense. And Douglas has some film there as well, and it's very similar to his work as an outside corner. So there's the route combo that you're getting from the Bills. Stephon Diggs is 3, and it's out of an empty set. So obviously, it's pass unless Josh Allen is running, but his ability to let these routes flow underneath and then stay underneath of the later developing dig. He doesn't see it. He's just a good football player. He knows that Josh Allen's moving out to his right where he enjoys moving, and so he's going to sit under here. And a very rare, even a Josh Allen, to get anything thrown back over here from the far side of the field. My point in showing it is as a nickel defender, shows good awareness, route awareness, that is, of the concept. Maybe you don't want him pitching it back there, but they were losing that game. I think they were losing 17-7 at that point, so he's trying to make a play, trying to get things going. Super aware in some cases, and this will be the last play that I show you. I believe he's seen it all on the field, and after watching, well, the wonderful thing about NFL Pro is now you can just go type in a player's name, and you can watch all their plays when they're on the field. So I was able to watch Kansas City playoff game from 2023. Ravens playoff game this past year. Broncos playoff game this past year. Week 16, 2023 against the Chargers, the game where I showed you his sack. And then I think it was week 12 or 13 this year, one of those times when he played 100% of the snaps. And he's just extremely aware. You can tell with his responses post-snap, he understands what the offense is trying to get done on a particular play that flows from a particular formation. Once certain things are shown to you on your side of the field, he pretty much knows what the threat is or is not to his side and how he can react and impact the game. I'm going to use this play to kind of illustrate that for you. Play action, if you don't know, a lot of times quarterbacks are told to present the ball like this. I mean, if you're handing the ball off, you need to, right? But this is, hey, let me show the ball to the defense. Hold those guys, and you can see Douglas's angle. Perfect view of it through the C gap there. And his response, it's just exquisite play. I don't know if he'll ever have another interception. I mean, if he doesn't sign with the Ravens, then I hope he doesn't ever end up with one, at least not one against us, right? I shouldn't say it that way. I hope for success for the guy. But point is, he's a guy who makes plays in ways that he's not supposed to. This isn't supposed to be there for him. It's Tennessee's fault for not presenting him with any route to his side of the field and just super awareness. Some would say, hey, coach, that's just simple. Go find work. He does find work. He finds work in a wider range, in my opinion, than a lot of other corners do. A lot of other corners that are still going to play an overwhelming majority of the time in 2025. I think that the Ravens have more obvious needs, more pressing ones. Our corner group, Wiggins, Woozy, Humphrey, Tampa, JAD. We drafted Bilal Coney. Don't see him playing early. We certainly have a need at defensive tackle probably still from a depth standpoint. The best case scenario for this team is probably, a cut situation on cut day, and we're able to sign like a Zeitler type. And I don't mean just a guard. I mean someone, a Kevin Zeitler type of player at D tackle. Was that guy going to be available? Right? Is that guy going to be available as a D tackle or a guard, a Zeitler quality player? Probably not. I don't know if Rasul Douglas is a Zeitler caliber player to you. He certainly looks like a playmaker, a guy who goes and gets the football. His film study prep must be really high level. And the one thing I would say that causes me to advocate for something like this, even though we have a JAD, I think in his 4th year, a TJ Tampa in his 2nd year, and we just drafted Bilal Coney, is this. What if Wiggins or Woozy or Humphrey goes down? I would like to have someone a little bit higher quality than a Tampa, a JAD, or a Bilal Coney as a guy who comes in and gets on the field a lot. So I recognize that people will have a vast different opinions. I do have 2 more of these to do on current veteran free agents. If you have suggestions for players, please let me know. They take at least, they normally take a couple of days for me to produce in terms of watching the film, categorizing it, choosing which plays to talk about that represent hit the player's skills. In this case, Rasul Douglas at age 29, going to be 30 right as the season starts. So if you have other suggestions, please let me know in the comment section, and then let me know what you think of the video and the way I tried to break down the film. Finally, if you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at Rasul Douglas, a potential free agent for the free agent signing for the Ravens or any other team, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.